Let's walk through the process of importing your local attendance data. Clicking on the Import menu, we see that there are two options available. Those are, from Level 1, and, from CSV. Keep in mind that the system was designed so that each step is logically in sequence, so you would move left to right, top to bottom, in the order of progressing actions. The Level 1 import was already performed for you by the system when you first opened the month, so unless you know of new records received by the Level 1 container which bypassed the attendance application since your last Level 1 import, you will not need to perform this import again. However, the option is there for you, should you ever want to use it. Please remember that an import of data will not delete data, however, it will overwrite existing data. Always be sure you are performing the correct import, at the correct time, in the correct month, and in the case of a CSV import, with the correct file. If you click on the Import from Level 1 option, you will first be prompted by the system if this is indeed the action you wish to take. Let's go back and select the Import from CSV option so we can bring in our local attendance data. On the CSV import page, you can see that the system accepts two different file formats. The first being the full eScholar template, and the second being a mini version with strictly the required fields. The mini version will be significant to those schools that do not have a student management system. Now we click on the Choose File button and select the file we want to import. Once you have selected your file, click on the Submit button. In this scenario we uploaded a file that the system has determined was not in the correct format. Note that all uploaded CSV files require that the first row be the actual header row, meaning a row that includes all the column headers for the data within the file. The file we uploaded was missing that header row. Let's go ahead and edit the CSV file to add the correct header row. The file that we just uploaded was using the full eScholar format, so let's copy that header row into memory to start. Open your CSV file with your preferred text editor. Do not open a CSV file with Microsoft Excel, as doing so will corrupt the file format. In this case we are using a free text editor called Notepad++. Create a new line at the top of the file, and paste the header we copied, and then save and close the CSV file. Now we can re-import the fixed CSV file. Similar to the Level 1 import, this process may take a few minutes depending on how many records are in the file, so we ask that you please be patient. Remember that this process also error checks all imported data to ensure accuracy. While we wait for the system to import and error check these records, let's discuss the types of errors you may encounter with your imported data. There are three types of errors that you may encounter with imported data. First, valid records with bad data. These records were imported into your current month's attendance, however the system has identified that there is a problem with the data, marking the record as an error, to allow you to fix it at a later time. Second, invalid records. These records could not be fully imported by the system because they were identified as records that were not needed. For example, a student with missing enrollment information in Level 1, or perhaps an enrollment range that does not include the attendance record date you attempted to import. These types of records may have accurate or otherwise complete data, however, the system cannot import them because they would violate the constraints of other key data points, such as your day calendar, or current student enrollment information. In situations as these, the system will retain a copy of the records in a bad import records table. By retaining these records, we give you the opportunity to attempt to re-import them when the problem has been resolved. For example, you adjusted your day calendar, or new enrollment information for the student was received. All this can be done without needing to find and re-import the original CSV file. Third, invalid records with critically bad, or malformed data. These records are completely skipped by the import routine as they have critical errors in the data, which prevented the system from processing them. This can be errors like malformed data rows, or an incorrect district key. Since these records cannot be read correctly, or in other cases are not for this particular school at all, the system will temporarily record these errors in order to display them to you at the end of the import routine. These records are not saved by the system, so pay close attention to these errors as they need to be manually handled, and once you dismiss the report showing these errors, the information on this report cannot be retrieved. So be sure to save this report if you plan on doing research on the skipped records displayed. In our CSV file we had a few records with import errors, as is evident with the error report displayed on the screen. This error report is showing you the records that could not be processed at all due to critical data errors. Remember that these records are not stored by the system and need to be manually reviewed. Once you leave this page, the data on this report is lost, so be sure to print the screen if you need to retain this information for later use. If in your research you find that these records need to be included, you will need to fix the problem as described in the reason column and import these records again. To make it easier to find these records in your CSV file, the line number, student ID, and the attendance date are shown. We always suggest creating a new CSV file with only the records you need to re-import. This will avoid accidentally overwriting existing records. Now that we have successfully imported our CSV file, you can see that some errors were detected. Let's quickly review them. First, you can see that there are a couple of missing modality code errors. Since these records are positive attendance-based, they require a modality code. These can easily be fixed by editing the record and supplying the correct modality. Next, we see that there are several errors indicating student exited enrollment. These errors occur because the enrollment information that we currently have on file indicates that this student exited their enrollment before the date of this attendance record. If according to your records, this error is incorrect, then you will need to contact New York City and request that they update their enrollment information for the student. You will then need to wait for us to receive their updated enrollment data. Once you know the enrollment information has been updated in our system, which you can see at the top in the current filter area, then you can re-evaluate the errored records, found in the Actions menu. Now, you will also see that some of these errors have a green check mark next to them. This indicates that the attendance record date is before the latest as of enrollment date. This simply means that in most cases, we can trust that the enrollment information is up to date, and that these records are cleared for delete. Of course, you should always be sure before you delete any data from the system. To edit an existing record, simply click on the pencil button on the record you wish to change. You will notice that only certain fields will allow changes. The values listed within these field selections is controlled by ESB. To delete a record, click on the trashcan icon on the record you wish to remove. You will be prompted by the system for confirmation. Let's go ahead and delete all these error records, since they are marked as cleared for delete. This means that according to current enrollment information in Level 1, these students should not have any attendance data for these days. To select multiple rows, simply click on any white space area of the row. You will see your selected rows change color. Now let's move up to the Actions menu button. Here we are going to select the Delete Selected Records option. You will also notice that the number of selected records that will be deleted is displayed here as well, as an added precaution. As usual, whenever you are deleting data from the system, you will be prompted for confirmation. Now let us quickly edit the last remaining error records. While we have updated the records, they are still flagged as errors. All we have to do is tell the system to re-evaluate all the records currently flagged as errors. We do this under the Actions menu, and then selecting Re-evaluate Errors. As you can see, we have successfully cleared all of our errors. But there is one more error we need to resolve, and that is our bad CSV import records. You can see that you have import errors because there is now a red Imports button visible on the toolbar. This only becomes visible if there are import errors that need attention, and you will see the number of bad records as listed within the parentheses. Let's click on this button to view our errors. We have one record that the system could not fully process during the import, and it says that the reason is due to missing demographics or enrollment data. This either means that we could not find a student record, or that we could not find enrollment information for the student. In both cases, the system cannot fully process this record because the required dependent data is missing in Level 1. At a later time, when you know the information has been updated in Level 1, you can click on the Re-import button, which will attempt to reprocess the record. Otherwise, if you know this is a record that you do not need, you can click on the Delete button. For this demonstration, we will be deleting the record. We have now completed resolving all our data errors.